Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this webinar. My name is Laura Ronberg, and I will be going through the Bookshare overview. So whether you are new to Bookshare or have used it before, we'll cover going over the basic overview, the website demo, and then maybe if you have been using it, some other features you weren't sure about that might be new to you, that can be really helpful to get your students ready for summer. So again, I will cover the Bookshare overview, how to get students reading more with free individual memberships. It's a great value added benefit for students to have their individual memberships, and some summer reading ideas to keep students reading over the summer, keeping them engaged and better prepared for the next school year. So before we begin, a few Bookshare facts. Bookshare is operated by Benetech. We are a nonprofit technology company based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we believe that equitable access to education is a human right. And our company develops technology and software that break down systemic barriers and empower all learners regardless of their ability. We serve over 900,000 students in all 50 states. We have over 40,000 schools and districts using Bookshare, and over 20 million books have been downloaded over the past decade. So even if you are finding out about Bookshare today for the first time, there very well might be accounts already at your school or in your district. So approximately 5%, if not more, of students experience a barrier to reading traditional printed books. Districts have moved to more online resources, online curriculums, but just because something is digital does not mean it is accessible to people who do require accessible formats of materials. And for these students to fully participate in the classroom, they need access to the same materials at the same time as their peers in the formats that work for them. And this is where Bookshare comes in. Bookshare is an online library of millions of ebooks, including textbooks, that are all available in a variety of accessible formats, including audio, audio with highlighted text, braille, and large print. Best of all, Bookshare is entirely free for all qualified U.S. students of any age, and that is thanks to our funding from the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs. So Bookshare will always be free for schools and students. And again, that is students of any age, pre-K, K-12, post-secondary, adult, and vocational education programs, always free for students. The Bookshare collection contains over 1 million titles, and this includes textbooks, fiction, nonfiction, all the books that students need for school, the readings that get assigned, books that students might want to read for pleasure, the New York Times bestsellers, American Library Association award winners, other popular award winner or award programs, career and technical training materials, study guides for all the standardized tests, the GED, the SATs, the LSATs, the MCATs, pretty much anything a student would need for school is in the collection. The Bookshare books are voiced using the the voice that is built into the device they're using, but we do now have a growing collection of some human narrated titles as well, which I will go over later in the presentation. But by the 1 million titles in our collection, we add several thousand typically each month. So the collection is always growing and it's very timely. Often the books are available the same day they are available for purchase in a bookstore or any online bookseller. Books are available 24/7 and because everything is cloud-based, it's all done through our website. So teachers can access assigned books anywhere they have an internet connection, and students can log in and read anytime, anywhere that they have an internet or cell connection. There's no limits on access. Every title is available. There's not no waiting for a title to become available. It's just instantly available. And there's no need to check out or return a book or a time limit on how long a student would have access to a book. So those are some ways that we differ from some of the other ebook libraries. There are many ways to read Bookshare books on the devices that students already have access to at school and at home. Computers and Chromebooks, smartphones and tablets, braille devices, smart speakers, and specialized assistive technology devices. Bookshare has our own suite of reading tools called the Bookshare Reader. There's a Bookshare Reader for computers and Chromebooks. There's a Bookshare Reader for mobile, for smartphones and tablets, and there's an iOS and Android app for that. And then there is also the Bookshare Skill for the Alexa smart speaker. With our reading tools, users can customize their experience to make it work for them. They can adjust the font type and size, the voice speed, and the color and contrast. So even sometimes just making slight tweaks to the way a book is voiced or displayed can really help a student engage with the content. So Bookshare does offer with some eligibility criteria. We operate under a provision in the copyright law that says that if a person has a visual impairment, a reading or learning disability, or a physical disability that interferes with their ability to pick up a book, hold it in their hand, turn the pages, see the words on the page, or decode or comprehend the words on the page, then they are entitled to accessible versions of published works. So this is sometimes referred to as a print disability. Initially it was meant for, just hard copy books, but it's really any print, whether that be in a hard copy book or online. If someone cannot see it, decode or comprehend it, or access it due to a visual impairment, reading or learning disability, or physical disability, then they are entitled to accessible formats. So there's no, the law does not specify how severe of a vision loss or reading or learning disability or physical disability. That is up to you all, the experts, the educators who work with your students. If you know they have a visual impairment, they have low vision, they have blindness, they have issues with light sensitivity, or they have maybe been diagnosed with dyslexia or a specific learning disability, or maybe you just know that they are having trouble decoding or comprehending, or a student that cannot move their eyes due to a physical disability or hold a book due to cerebral palsy. These are the students who qualify for Bookshare. The visual impairment and physical disability students, sometimes it's a little more, apparent who might qualify. The kids who qualify based on having the learning or reading disability, if they haven't been diagnosed yet with dyslexia or an SLD, there are some things, signs and symptoms that you can look out for that might, give you, pause to think this student might qualify. These are students who have problems with decoding, again, with reading comprehension. They might demonstrate consistent reading and spelling errors, poor fluency. Maybe they are receiving supports through RTI or a multi-tiered system of support. They've been identified as reading below grade level and needing additional supports. Maybe they have some of the many, many different signs and symptoms of dyslexia. This is a great link from understood.org, where they've found that even at a very young age, there are some signs that a person might be diagnosed with dyslexia later on in life. So these are all the things to think about if you are, when you're thinking of your students, the ones who are struggling with reading. And, if you think that having an accommodation such as ebooks and reading tools that allow them to customize the output, then you can give them access to Bookshare. Many of our students have IEPs or 504s that indicate a need for reading accommodation, such as digital or audiobooks, text-to-speech, braille, or large print, but an IEP or 504 is not required. for a student to access Bookshare. But again, we know that many of our students have them, and these are some of the words that might be on their assessment. But again, you, the educators who have either evaluated the student or have read evaluations that have been done on them, if you feel that they qualify for this program, then you can add them to the Bookshare account. So Bookshare is a great resource. It saves teachers time and energy. It provides that immediate access to accessible education materials. Traditionally, districts had to request a book maybe from their district or even from a state repository if they needed an accessible format, whether that be braille or large print or audiobook. Then there's a waiting time for that. Meanwhile, the class is continuing and the student doesn't have access to their book. But with Bookshare, it's available immediately. Teachers can assign reading anywhere that they have an internet connection or cell service, and students are empowered to read on their own with less intervention. They are given a username and password. They log in, they see the books that have been assigned to them, and they can read anywhere that they have an internet connection or cell service. So it's a really easy and efficient tool. Bookshare offers two account types. Organization accounts are what schools or school districts sign up for. On these accounts, educators, who we call sponsors, add their students who qualify. Students are called members, and they find and assign books to them. And students can only read the books that have been assigned to them. We also offer individual accounts, and these can be for students and non-students. Again, everyone who uses Bookshare must qualify for it, but we have many adult members who utilize Bookshare as well. There is a fee for non-students, but students can also have the individual membership. And this is a great, as I mentioned earlier, a great value-added benefit for them. Because they then can log in and read any book that they want to anytime. So it's great for over summer or over holidays. They can read the Harry Potter books that their friends are reading, or if they have a hobby, they can search to learn more books, or maybe they're learning something in school and they want to supplement their learning with another book that they might prefer, or just to learn more on a topic. So it is a great benefit. The accounts can be linked, and later on when we go onto the website demo, I will show you how easy it is for either the teacher to add on the individual membership or for a parent to do that. When students are given their individual membership, if they're under 18, they are blocked from accessing anything that is labeled adult content. So that is sometimes of a concern, but even though they can search the whole collection, they cannot access anything labeled adult. So again, the benefits of the individual memberships are vast. They can read anything they want, and we all know that the more students read, the better their reading proficiency. It sparks their love of learning, which is a great skill that they will take throughout life, greater reading independence. And also when they have that individual membership account, it will follow them. So if they move to another school or school district, or when they graduate, and if they go on to post-secondary, they will always have their membership. And if they go to a new school that is using Bookshare, they can connect that membership connected to that organization account. Or in the case of going to college, they would just find the books that they need on their own. So that account will always follow them. And since their proof of disability has already been verified at the school level, there's no further proof. The parent doesn't need to do anything. And again, if they go to a new school, nothing has to happen with that as well. So it's a really great feature. Again, it's entirely free for students and very easy to add that on to their school account. Another great benefit is, I mentioned that the Alexa smart speaker is another way to access Bookshare books. That is currently only a feature that people with individual memberships can access. So by giving students the individual membership, if they have an Alexa smart speaker in their home, they can listen to their books that way. So I mentioned that educators can add on the individual membership, or parents can. I will be demonstrating that. I just wanted to point out, I will be sending out copies of the presentation where the how-tos for how to do everything is linked in there as well. So you will have that. So that is the basic overview. I see that there's a few questions. I can take a look at those before we go on to the website. But on the website, I'll be demonstrating what it looks like from the educator's experience, how easy it is to add your students and assign books and add on that individual membership. And then I will log in as the student and show you how they read their assigned books, and then also how their parents can add on that individual membership, and some of our support and training resources. If you have used Bookshare before, if you logged in on Tuesday morning, you noticed our website looks very different. We are really excited to be able to show you our new website. It just came out this week, and we're really excited about it. We think it's a much more modern look and feel to it. And I'll show you where our support and training resources are on that as well. Okay, there's some questions. I'm actually going to get to them afterwards because some of that will be, I will show you when we go on to the website. So let me show, I'm going to go to the website. Actually, it's not letting me close the questions. Someone asked that they have used Bookshare for students for a few years, and they have concerned about the privacy since we do collect the name, birth date, and some other information about the student. So I will show you that while as I go on to the website. But yes, we do, you'll see what we collect is some about students. We do have, we are willing to do data privacy agreements with districts if that is a concern for you, but I'll cover a little bit more of that later. So I am on the Bookshare website, www.bookshare.org. If you have used our site before, again, you will see it looks very different. But the platform for now operates just the same. I am logged in as a teacher. Again, we call them sponsors in our system. And you'll see when you log in, you'll see your name there. And then you go to your My Bookshare page. The My Bookshare page is the dashboard where you add your members, add other educators, and get the overall view of the account usage. So I'm logged in here. I'm going to select the members link, and this will take me to the member roster. So these are all the students on the account. It has their school, their grade, their birth date. When it says org plus individual, that shows that that student also has the individual membership. If it just says organization, they are just on your school account. The type of disability that qualifies them, and if they have any an IEP or 504 plan. So all this information comes from when you add a member. And so as someone just asked about having the privacy concerns, yes, the system right now does require first name, last name, birth date, and current grade. Bookshare operates under an exception to FERPA. We are considered a school official because we're providing a service that if we didn't provide, the school or district would otherwise have to provide. So schools are able to give us this information, the personal identifying information about their students, because we are acting as like a representative of the school. So there's no permission needed from parents. And, there's many other ed tech products that operate under the same school official exception. Again, we do take security and data privacy very seriously. We sign data privacy agreements with schools and districts all the time, attesting to our cybersecurity and data privacy practices. So I hope that's not a concern to the person who asked that. We do allow, if in some districts, have more strict policies that If it is really an issue about not wanting to give the personal identifying information, you can contact our customer support and ask for a confidentiality waiver, which will allow you to use aliases, student A, or a number. And you sign a form saying that you will keep some type of records matching the alias to the actual student. So if there's an issue, if a student is sharing files that they're not supposed to be sharing copyrighted information, that who to go back and reprimand. So that is, again, if that is a big concern of yours, please reach out to our customer support team and ask for that confidentiality rider. So to add the student, you would just add in their first name, last name, their birth date, and their current grade from the drop-down box. And then students are given a username and password. This can be anything. It can be an email address, a nickname, an ID number, anything that they will remember. This is how they will log into Bookshare, whether that be on a computer or a mobile app, and access the books that have been assigned to them. If you are on a district account that has students from many schools, you'll want to make sure that the student, you put in the student's school, because that will make it easier just to sort the roster. So if you're a teacher at one school and only supporting students at one school, you can sort the roster by the school name and not have to see all the other students. So here we get to the qualifying information part, and this is all that is required. You simply check whether it's a visual, learning, or physical disability, one or all three, and that is it. We do not want you to send in any signed, any documentation. By checking those boxes, you are attesting that based on your professional expertise and knowledge of the student, that they qualify. So that's it. And so since that is taken care of at the school level, when you or the parent adds on the individual membership, they do not need to provide any further proof of disability. It is taken care of at the school. And educators, and that's any educator who works with a student. Can be a teacher, a special educator, a librarian even, assistive technology specialist, a teacher of the visually impaired. Any teacher can be a sponsor and attest the disability, providing that they have worked with the student or have reviewed assessments that have been done on that student. So that is all that is required. If they have an IEP or 504, you can check it here, not required. Students with IEPs do have access to a subset of textbooks that are in the National Instructional Materials Access Center, the NIMAC. NIMAC operates under IDEA, under special education law, where there's a provision in the law that says that textbook publishers must make a digital copy available of any textbook or curriculum materials that any district in the country purchases. So even if just one district has purchased it, the publisher has to make those files available in the NIMAC to be available to students with disabilities who have IEPs anywhere in the country. So we have a very large selection of textbooks in our collection, but there are some textbooks that are only in the National Instructional Materials Access Center. So if students have the IEP, they can get them through Bookshare very easily. We are considered an authorized user of the NIMAC for almost all the states in the country. And we can, when you search for the book, it will, if it's in the NIMAC, it will show up in the search results, and you can just assign it the way you would assign any other book. So if they have the IEP, you should select that so students can access those textbooks. So I've added my students. Now I'm going to want to assign books to them. So there's two ways to assign books. One using what we call the assign button, and you can also create reading lists. I will demonstrate today how to assign a book using the assign button, but first you're going to want to find a book. So you can search for a book in the search bar by title, author, or ISBN. I will just put in Harry Potter. And it pulled up 615 results. And that's every book about, every Harry Potter book, books about Harry Potter, the cinematic guides, which have like the actual screenplays, and we have, multiple formats of the book. So that is just one way to get a broader search by putting in the title, author, or ISBN. We also have an advanced search feature where you can further narrow your search results, a word in the title, an author, a publisher. If you want a book that has images, you can check that. Many of our images also have image descriptions, which are audible image descriptions. So for students with visual impairments, if they're reading a book that has an image, it will say, image of a boy and his dog sitting under a tree. So you can select that as well if you want that to have to be available. You can sort by language. We have books in a variety of languages. So that is great if you have some students who speak and read in other languages. And that is something that comes up often. We get asked if students who are English language learners can use Bookshare. And by just the fact that they are an English language learner, they do not qualify for Bookshare. However, if they struggle to read in their own language, perhaps they've been diagnosed with having dyslexia to read in their own language, or they have a visual or physical impairment, then those students can be added to a Bookshare account. But just the fact that they are learning English does not alone qualify them. But I always like to mention that when I show the languages, because right away people are like, oh, great, I work with English language learners. You can sort by grade or just any category. You have a student who likes animals, who's in second grade. I can select that, and it pulls up some books that have, about animals or have animals as characters. So that is the advanced search page. We also have, and this is new, it used to be called the Browse page. It is now called the Explore page, where this is where the Bookshare collections team puts together a reading list. And these will change and be updated frequently. But if you're not sure what book you want your student to read, you can come here. There's the New York Times fiction and nonfiction, what's new, popular teens and kids books. We'll do featured books. It's Asian American Pacific Islander Month, so we'll have books on featuring those stories for different ages. Edgar Allan Poe Award. So this is just a page where you can come to get ideas for what is in the collection, and also just the breadth of the collection. Under the educator section, we have the accelerated reader books categorized by the different levels that they use. We also have many of the popular, back to the educator section, the popular leveled readers, Lexile, and some of the other, we have, the Fontes and Pinnell books, National Geographic leveled readers, just a lot of different, series that are available out there. So the I Can Read series. So you can come here and just to get an idea of what books you might want to assign to your students. So you've searched for the book using any of those methods, and then you simply select this assign button. It will pull up your member roster, and you select the students who you wish to assign the book. You can assign it to all of them, one or two. You hit assign, and that book is then instantly assigned to your student. So they don't get a notification. You can just tell them, I've assigned a book to you, or I've assigned a couple books, and then they log in and see that book. So that's really easy. There's also a way you can create reading lists of many books. I'm not going to go through all that now, just in the essence of time, but I will point you to the resources where you can learn more. But this is where you create collections of books. You can add as many titles as you want. If at the beginning of the year, there's going to be 10 books that all kids must read, you can create a reading list based on that. You associate your students with the list, you assign them to the list, and then they have access to all those books. So that is just the other way to to get assigned books to students. So on the member roster, again, this is where you see all the members who are on your account. You can filter by school, again, which is helpful on a large district account that might have 500 students. They would all be displayed there, but you can then, filter just to see students in that school. All schools. So to add the individual membership, you just come to the member roster, put a checkbox next to the student's name, and under this More Actions tab, there is an Add Individual Membership. So option 1 is you are requesting a new individual membership. You have the option of sending an email to the parent, because again, if the kid is under 18, the parents do have to sign off on it, or you can download a form that has the instructions for the parent on how to do it themselves. But if you do the email, the parent receives an email with a link. They just click on the link, and it will already have a form with their child's name and birth date and grade filled in. They just check a few boxes saying that they are the legal parent or guardian. They then enter an email address that moving forward, the student will use whatever email address the parent selects. It could be the student's personal email address or a parent's email address, but that is how students will then log in. So if they've been using that username that you gave them, once they have the individual membership, they will then log in. But since they are on the school account, and also there, you'll see, the org plus individual, the teachers can still assign the books, and the students can also log in and read what they want to read. Teachers still are able to manage the account. So for example, the student, the parent has set up with their email address, and they have created their own password for their child. The kid forgets. Well, the teacher, you can still come, you can't see the password. You can never see passwords for students, but you can reset it to something that, hopefully they'll remember. So that is something that sometimes educators are concerned with the individual membership, that they won't be able to manage the account. But you still can. You can still change, if the next year, the end of the year has come and the student is going on to the next grade, you can still update their information, even though they have that individual membership as well. So it's still very easy for the teachers to support the students. But again, that individual membership, the student can log in and read what they want. So I am going to log out and now log in as a student. And this is a student who is just on their school account and does not have the ability to search for their own books. They just have to get their books assigned. So students log in with that username and password, and then they have on their My Bookshare page, they have links for assigned books and reading lists. So you would tell them, I've assigned a book to you. They come here, they see all their books that have been assigned. Here's that one I just assigned a few minutes ago. And then the easiest way for them to read is to simply select the Read Now button, and that opens the book in the browser, just in another tab in the browser. There is no need for them to download any files or do anything. It just simply opens it up in the browser. And this is what we call our Bookshare Reader for Web, and it works on any computer or Chromebook. And let me make sure I'm sharing sound. Great. Okay. So the book is open in the browser. And then with this gear icon here, the settings button, this is where the student can set it up for the look and feel that they prefer. So audio, again, I mentioned it does use the voice that is built into whatever device. So I am on a PC and I am in the Edge browser. And Edge now makes these lines that they call them the natural voices. As you can see, there's several of them. There's male, female voices. There's English with Canadian accent, UK accent, different ages of they're all AI voices, but some sound more childlike, some sound older. They can select the voice they want. Now, if they are on a Chromebook, which uses Google Chrome for the browser. Chrome has a voice built in. If you're on a Safari, you're using Safari on a Mac, Apple provides, I think there's something like 50 different voices. So the voices will depend on the device. If they're using the mobile app, iOS, Android devices have different voices as well. And typically the mobile apps have the best voice quality, but it is, they can certainly experiment to find ones that work best for them. They can change the audio speeds, slower or faster. They can determine if they want to have the voice page numbers or image descriptions if the book has that. They can change the text size. For some students, maybe with some low vision or other visual disorder, they might just need a really large font. They can adjust that here. Some people do better with more spacing between the characters, so they can have options for adjusting that. They can choose to have it paginated, which will display side-by-side pages like a book, or scrolling just one long screen of text. They can change the margins and also the line spacing. And the line spacing, by having a wider line spacing, can really help kids with dyslexia to really track along and not get as distracted. But again, everything is very personal of what works for one person, might not work for another, but they can play around, and kids seem to really they feel, when they're given the independence to set it up how they like, it can really help them engage with reading. There are a variety of color presets, the white background with a black text, or lemon on black, which is a different contrast level. For some people that really helps. There's some muted color schemes, blue with white, a grayscale, and it's all highly customizable. So you could start with the black on white, and then you can choose any background color you want, any text color. And the system does the sentence and word level highlight. So as the sentence is being read, the whole sentence is highlighted. And then when that word is spoken out loud, that word will be highlighted. Sometimes over Zoom, there's a little bit of a delay, but it's perfectly in sync. So I've set that up. I can go to the chapter where I want to start reading. If I remembered, I started over here. They can either just double click or hit the play button.
So about 1 million pages ago, I mentioned Zeus's first wife, the Titan Métis. Remember her? Neither did I. I had to go back and look.
So you see it's doing that sentence and word level highlighting. There's a bookmark feature. So while the student is
all these names, Métis and Thetis and Themis,
I put in a bookmark, and then under the table of contents, there's a bookmarks tab, and they can go, this is where I just bookmarked, can go if they, they're stopping for the day, then when they come back to read, they can just jump to right where they had left off. So the Bookshare Reader for Web is a really super easy, fast way for them to read. Again, nothing to download. It's just all reading, pulling from the cloud, and that highly customizable interface to set that up to how students want. If they do want to download a book file, they can do that as well. As I mentioned, every book comes in a variety of accessible formats. If they just want an audio file, maybe they're going on a car trip and they want to just listen to their book in their headphones, they can download the audio and transfer it to their phone or MP3 player. For students who read in Braille on electronic Braille devices, depending on the manufacturer, some might take the BRF, Braille Ready Refreshable Format file, or a Daisy text, some of them do. They would download that. It just goes to the downloads folder on their computer or Chromebook, and then they would transfer that to their device, however that device works. Every book also just comes as a Word file. Just having a Word file would not provide the highlighting or the audio unless they also had some other software built in there to the computer, like Read and Write. That is a text-to-speech and has the highlighting, or Snap and Read is another tool. They could download the Word or the EPUB, depending on whatever software that they might have on their system. Or some of the Word versions actually have the immersive reader built in. So for a student that maybe needs to read but will not have access to the internet, you could download the Word document and just access it that way, or maybe just change the font. So it's really flexible of how a student will read, what format they want to read. But I would say the majority of our users are reading in the web reader or on a mobile app. So on the mobile app with the Bookshare Reader for mobile, students just sign into their account directly in the app. They don't need to come to the website. There's a tab for assigned books, and they would see those books that their teachers have assigned to them. So those are the Bookshare Reader. There are other reading tools that work with Bookshare. I'll show you that in a minute, that are compatible, that integrate with Bookshare, where the student can just log into the app and read. And since a lot of students have either their own personal mobile device or access to one at home, it's another really convenient way. They can access all their books, just in the palm of their hand. So again, I mentioned I'm logged in as a student on the organization account. The parent can easily upgrade the account without, you as the educators having to do anything. You just tell them they can do this. When their child is logged in with their username and password, they can select upgrade to an individual membership. Oops. Again, we have our new website, and it looks like that link hasn't been updated yet, but I'll be sure that that does get updated so you can see how that works. But we thought everything, with technology, you never know when everything has updated appropriately. But they would click on that link, in a perfect world where all works great, and they would see that form that has their child's name and their information already filled in. And they get to just click on a few buttons, and then it's immediately accessed that way. So that is how a parent could add on the individual membership. And I'll make sure that gets working so you all have a sense, but hopefully quickly. So that is the students, their reading experience. And then I mentioned that we have updated our website. Not all the links apparently have updated, but if you're looking for some help and support resources, you just select the help button. You'll see that on your My Bookshare page. And this is our Help and Learning Center. We have some frequently asked questions here. Our number one question our team gets asked is, how do I reset my password? Information here. Who qualifies for Bookshare. These are just some short help articles that have information. You can also search by topic. You want to see all the different ways to read books. You can come here. The different reading tools that work with Bookshares. And then articles. I mentioned Read and Write. I know that's a popular add-on that many districts use, and it integrates very nicely with Bookshare. It adds some features on top of our Bookshare reader. So you can come here and read just about all the different topics. Just one easy place to find everything. If your students read in Braille, we have some help articles about how you read with Braille and some of the different Braille devices that are out there. So I'm going to go back to the read books. What reading tools work with Bookshare? We have our Bookshare reader, and then we have other partner reading tools that integrate with Bookshare. If you have used Bookshare before, we used to have what we called our reading tool wizard. This is sort of the new wizard, where you look at the type of platform the student has, or type of device. If they have an iOS device, then you look down here, and here are some reading tools in addition to the Bookshare Reader for mobile that we recommend to use with an iOS device. Dolphin Easy Reader is it's a free app. It has versions for iOS and Android, Chromebooks, Windows, and Mac. VoiceStream is another one. It does have a fee associated with that. There's Capti. So you can come here and look for the different types of devices, what reading tools or instructions for reading that work with those devices. We know Chromebooks are very popular in schools. Again, our Bookshare reader for web works great with Chromebooks, but Dolphin Easy Reader also and CAPTI have a version for that. So that is where you can come to find information on the different reading tools. Back to the help page. And to get to that Help and Learning Center, you can find that in the footer under Help. Another popular support and training resource that was, again, if you've been using Bookshare, our ABCs of Bookshare for Educators, that you can access that through the main Help and Learning Center page. And this is sort of one link that has all the information for everything you need to do with Bookshare. Everything from why Bookshare is needed. Again, like I mentioned, those 5% or more of students have a qualifying disability that and that need reading accommodations. And this walks you through the whole Bookshare process from signing up, which you may or may not need to do if your school or district already has an account. And our customer support team can help you find that out. I will also be providing my email. You can reach out to me and I can help you get connected to an account and how to set up your account. So these have all the steps. You're going to add your colleagues, other teachers, any person in your school or district who supports students with reading can be added as a sponsor. How do you find and assign books? So I showed you how to assign a book using the Assign and Read button, that Assign button. We also have the reading list option, and here there are instructions for how you can create your own reading list with the books that you want. And you also can subscribe to one of the ready-made reading lists. Those are the reading lists that the Bookshare collections team has put together. You can subscribe to the New York Times for Children list or any of the other, if you're using Fontes and Pinnell, a certain level of that, you can subscribe to those books, add your student to that list, and then they have immediate access to all that list. So the ABCs have all the information of everything you need to do to get signed up and starting using Bookshare. Again, get students reading. Here's the information about the Bookshare reader. And then the other tools like I just showed you that work easily with Bookshare. So that is, if you're just going to go to really kind of get a good sense of how Bookshare works, I would recommend checking out the ABCs of Bookshare for Educators. So I will go back to the PowerPoint. I've done the demo, then I promise to get to some questions. So the next steps would be to find out if your school or district has a Bookshare account. If not, create one. Just on bookshare.org, there's a big sign up button, and you would sign up as a US school or district. Once you complete the sign up process on your My Bookshare page, you would add your qualified students, find and assign the books, and show students how to read. And also to really promote those individual memberships. Again, we find this doesn't get utilized as often. We think there's some, people don't realize that there's nothing the parent needs to do other than check a few boxes. They don't need to provide any further information, and it's entirely free for students. So I would really recommend getting those individual memberships for your students so they can get ready for summer reading. They can then find genres, help them find genres that are engaging to them, show them how to search, allow them to customize their reading experience that really can, again, get them a little more enthusiastic about reading. And sometimes a few small tweaks can really make a difference. We have a special Summer of Audio campaign going. I will take you to the website to show you that. But that is where you can find out more about our human narrated audiobooks. We have about 5,000 in the collection of audiobooks for students of all ages. Again, it's just the audio. It does not have the highlighting because it is just an audio file. But over the years, we have been asked a lot about, why don't we have human narrated audio, that people prefer that. So we're really excited that we have that to offer now. And for students that have the individual memberships, they can listen to those audio, the human narrated, and the other audiobooks, the text-to-speech audiobooks, through the Alexa smart speaker, which is a nice feature as well. So the ABC is a Bookshare for educators, links to the Bookshare reader that has all the instructions for using the web-based and the mobile reader, and the other partner reading tools and Help and Learning Center. These links are all in here. You'll have a copy of the PowerPoint. We do have a great customer support team who you can contact by email or phone. There is the phone number. They answer the phone 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And here is my email address, laura.r@benetech.org. I am happy to answer any questions or help you get connected to your school or district account. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box and I will answer them. So I answered the first two. Yes, someone asked, does individual memberships, do parents still need to send in a proof of disability? No, they do not. A parent with a child who is an exceptional student under autism spectrum and has reading difficulties, and they are homeschooling her. It's a good question. So yes, you can sign your child, if you're homeschooling, you can sign up your child for an individual membership. You will have to have a professional sign or proof of disability form. Unless where you live, if your child is connected to your local school district, then they can, and they have information about the diagnosis and the reading difficulties, then they can sign the form as well. But you would need to it's a form that any professional that has evaluated your child can sign and send in, and that's a free membership as well. Is there a way to easily update students' grade every year, or do we have to go in there and do that for each student? Yes, there's no way to automatically make that happen. Not all students go on to the next grade. I'll go back to the member roster to show you. You can, if all your students are going to the next grade, you can select them all, and there's an increment grade level button. That's a great question. And we recommend, at the end of the school year, increment the grade levels. If there's students who will have, they've gone on to middle school or high school, remove them from the member roster. Or if they've moved out of state, it's a good time to kind of clean up the roster. But I will show you how to do that. Someone asked if I get a copy of the recording. Yes, you'll be sent out a link to the recording, a copy of the presentation. And I forgot to mention, anyone who attended live, you can get a certificate of attendance for 1 hour if that's something you want to have for your administration. Will the Siri voices eventually be an option on iPads through the Bookshare app? That's a great question. I will have to check on that. I know right now, when you are on an iPhone, an iOS app, there's 50, 60, or maybe even more voices to select from. And Apple makes, they're called premium and enhanced voices that are available for free as well. You do have to download them to the device, but they are a lot higher quality voices as well. But I'm not sure if that includes the actual Siri's voice. I'm going to, though, I'll check with our engineers about that. But I know those voices, and I think the voices are getting better and better. And as we all are using so much technology that has AI voices, I think people are just getting a little more used to the way they sound, but they are definitely getting higher quality. Someone asked, can the books be translated into another language? We do have books available in a variety of other languages, but the books, we don't do translations of languages. So you would have to find that title available in another language. Is Bookshare free to the organization? I work at a library, so I'm not sure if we would specify, we would qualify for this. A library could have an organization account, but unless you are, you have some kind of school program, it would not be free. A library would be a paying, what we call our paying organization, where you would pay per person. It's $79.99 for non-students. And since just the fact that it's not a school or a designated school entity, it has to be set up that way. What we recommend is if you serve students, that you have the parents sign their child up for an individual membership to make it free. If you want to provide books though to non-students, you would have to, so you're not paying for the account, you're basically paying for the number of students on the account. But with libraries, we would recommend that for students, so they can get it for free, to tell the parent about it. And we do have partnerships with some of the National Library Service libraries around the country. We have them about 12. And what they do is they pay us for memberships for their patrons. So they can then provide it free to their non-student adult patrons. So for your students, if they graduate and they're not going on to a post-secondary or another education program and they wish to continue with Bookshare, if you're lucky enough to live in a state that we have a partnership with the state or a local NLS library, they can get connected to that. We also recommend having people call their local library, and some libraries will pay for Bookshare memberships for adults. So just something to think about if you work with students transitioning out of the education system. Do you have some sample directions we can share with students who want to use Bookshare Reader? Oh yes, I will go back to the website and show you where those are. And it's also linked in the presentation. If we have a school account and added individual membership for one of our students, does the district incur costs? No, there are never any costs associated with using Bookshare in schools, school districts, education programs, never a cost. So let me go back to the website and show you, someone asked about instructions for Bookshare Reader. And we have just an easy way to find that is under the ABCs, Get Students Reading. Here is the Bookshare Reader for web. There's a video tutorial about that, and some quick instructions for how to use that. We also have a user guide you can download that has some step-by-step instructions, and we have that in Spanish as well. And then for the Bookshare Reader for mobile, same thing, video, some screenshots of what it looks like when you're in the platform, as well as the full user guide in English and Spanish. So I'm going to log out and log back in as a teacher to show you how to, someone asked about incrementing grade level. So if all your students will be going on to the next grade, you can select them all. Under more actions is increment grade level. And then that's a little faster than doing it one by one. But yeah, the system won't automatically do it because, again, we don't know for sure that that student is advancing to the next grade. Is there any other questions? Another thing on the Help Center, we have over 1 million titles, but you might find something that we don't have. You can request a book. You can select that. And there is a book request form, title, ISBN, author, as much information as you can provide. Be sure to, if it's required for school, select that. That puts it to the top of the list. You submit that, and then that will go to, our, whoops, was I not sharing the book request? I got to that from the Help Center. How to request a book, and then the book request form. So that is another great way. If there's, again, there might be a book we don't have, and we do our best to get it into the collection. I mentioned our Summer of Audio campaign. Stay tuned. You'll be receiving if you get our newsletter, we have information about that. This is where we feature our human narrated audiobook collections. There's human narrated different collections here's for kids. These are all books that are just strictly human narrated, and you can find them here. We put together some popular ones, and again, we have them for adults, kids, teens, or if you want to see all of our human narrated books, this is just one long list that you can then further sort. Make sure it's not going to that. Here we go. And just listed there. And when you click on a book, you'll see who it has, who narrates it, their name, and just some information about the book. So that is our summer reading for the summer, is around promoting our human narrated collection. Again, I think I answered that the district never incurs the cost for adding on an individual membership. So that is the Bookshare overview. Again, let me put up my email. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me or our customer support team. I thank you all for joining me today. I know we're getting close to the end of the year and it's a busy time. So again, thank you. And we hope you're excited to start using Bookshare with your students who qualify.